Hi everyone, Tony from Hack the Movies here. And today we're going to talk about a film that in like a month or so will be known as the second worst Indiana Jones film ever made. That's right, we finally made it to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yay.
It's time to hack the movies.
Hello, Johanna.
Hi, Tony.
Are you excited? We made it.
No.
How you feeling today? You're a little low energy in that last crusade. It's almost as if you were throwing up the day before. Are you okay now?
Yeah, I didn't throw up.
Okay, good. Good. And of course, we're trying out Space Cat on the set. She usually just sits there.
Meow.
By the time this comes out, the Nightmare 4 episode would have aired. And I put up a clip of Space Cat attacking Crystal. Yeah, we're going to talk about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. We're going to talk about a little bit of like how
I never wanted to watch that ever again.
Well, I remember our initial reaction in the theater. And don't worry, at the end of this, we will talk about the heist of the century. Again, it's not, you're going to be disappointed. Honestly, when we're done talking about the movie, just turn the episode off. You're going to be let down. But we have a new segment we're doing. It's called Tony Was Wrong.
Per usual.
Some episodes it's going to be we were wrong because you're not always right.
I'm always right.
I could go through the comments of the Holes episode and do a whole video.
I'm sorry. I have video proof of you reading this wonderful, wonderful thing that you wrote saying that you're wrong and I always am right.
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, things I got wrong in The Last Crusade. So, actually, I should bring up his name. Okay, so I mentioned that Ron Lacey was a Nazi in Last Crusade. He returned as a different Nazi in Last Crusade. Apparently, he was playing a real-life Nazi. He played Heinrich Himmler, who was the leading member of the Nazi Party and the commander of the Gestapo. People pointed out, because I was like, oh yeah, he's like a Nazi general with like a monocle or something. And people were very upset that I did not know the names of high-ranking Nazi officers off the top of my head. I'm sorry. I haven't really looked into World War II in many years since school. I know a little bit.
Nazi bad.
That's what I hear from some people. Sorry that I didn't memorize all of Hitler's buddies' names. I will try to do better in the future. The one guy there were several people who called me out, pissed off, but there was one guy who was like, yeah, I'm a bit of a World War II buff, so this might just be me being anal. I'm like, well, at least he admitted that. I was wrong at the end. They were not in Egypt. They were in Alexandria, which even Sean Connery points out. But I saw Salah and a desert, and I just assumed Egypt, even though I knew it was not Egypt. I just said Egypt because I saw Salah in the desert. And I went, remember Indiana Jones? There was something else, but I forgot to put it on my notes. Actually, one cool detail we did miss. There was actually a pretty dark detail in Last Crusade. Remember when he was like, here's all these treasures from the finest families in Germany.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, someone's like, those might have been like treasures from like families they murdered.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that went under my radar. Anyway, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh, God.
Now, you're dreading it, but like, back in 2008, we were hyped for this.
Duh.
And I think we actually enjoyed it the first time we saw it.
I think we said it was okay.
No, we definitely didn't love it.
I think,
We definitely did not love it. I think right out the gate, we were like, well, that's definitely the worst one, but it wasn't terrible.
Oh, there was also the collective of the very end with Shia LaBeouf when we thought a thing was going to happen and then it didn't because we literally were like, no, no, no. And then we were like, oh, thank God.
One member. This place is falling apart, Johanna. Johanna, this place is falling apart. Patreon.com/hackthemovies for repairs. Anyway, one member of our viewing party who will remain nameless because they were the one who actually carried out the heist of the century. I remember him coming out of the theater going, that was terrible. And we were like, it wasn't that bad. And I'm like, you know what? That guy was right. That guy was right. We were blinded by the hype that we had. And going into this, so the prequels are really bad. This is around the time where I'm starting to wean off the prequels. I'm like, oh, those aren't that good. I remember really liking them, but
The Star Wars prequels?
yeah.
You shut your whore mouth. Except for two.
Go back and watch our worst Star Wars episode. But like, so people were expecting something like that going in. People were really disappointed by Star Wars. So they're like, oh no, I'm scared of the new Indiana Jones. But Spielberg came back for this and he's a way better director than George Lucas. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, but George Lucas still wrote this.
Well, he came up with the story.
It was George Lucas and somebody else.
So yes, George Lucas wrote this with David Cope, who actually has written a few movies we covered on the show. Spider-Man in 2002, Mission Impossible, and Jurassic Park. So his track record was pretty good so far. I think he actually also wrote, let me make sure this is the right guy. Hold on. Yeah, he also wrote the Lost World Jurassic Park, but he made sure to have himself get eaten by a T-Rex in that movie. So that was his apology. So yes, this one had a better team behind it. Spielberg brought in his director of photography, Janusz Kaminski. Michael Kahn is editing again. And it's like, okay, this one might be good. And the obvious thing was like, well, Harrison's a little old. He's getting a little too old for this. Also, the previous film felt like a nice ending to his adventure.
Yeah.
Which even Spielberg said in interviews. He's like, I was done with it. That was the end. It's like, why did you come back, you dumb asshole? Why would you agree to do this? Why don't you just tell your buddy George, nah.
Let's let good things just die.
However, I think Harrison Ford really wanted to do it again because he loves being Indiana Jones.
I think he likes money.
I would agree with you, but he hates coming back for Han Solo. Like, he just doesn't care about Han Solo. And he always breaks a big stink about coming back as Han Solo. But Indiana Jones, he's like, yep, I'm ready. And it's like, no, you shouldn't be. You suck. Stop it. You're not Indiana Jones anymore. You're too old. So yeah, he wanted to come back. There were a bunch of ideas that passed around, and not everyone was thrilled with the artifact in this movie and what it's related to. But they're like, it's the 50s now, so we got to do it. Yeah, like I said, we didn't hate it when we first watched it, but yes, on repeat viewings, it gets worse and worse and worse. Although I argue, I don't know, the first like 40 minutes, it's mostly okay. Yeah. It's mostly okay. There's like a moment where everything shifts and it just turns to shit.
Yeah.
There's like a big disconnect between the first and second half. Now, let's get into this here. Let's get into this here.
I'm so excited.
I want to know your reaction to this because I remember your reaction in the theater. The movie starts literally making a mountain out of a molehill. Do you think other people have made that joke?
Probably. Honestly, when we first saw that prairie dog, we probably should have been like, yeah, this is going to be terrible.
Oh, yeah? 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 Because I remember being in the theater going, what the fuck? And before I could even finish saying that in my head, yeah, you going, oh, and I'm like, oh no.
And I thought it was going to die, but then it didn't. So everything was fine.
And it's not even that it was a gopher. It was like the worst.
It's a prairie dog.
Prairie dog. It's like the worst looking prairie dog ever. And I was like, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Meanwhile, Drat is like, ooh, an animal.
Can I throw you at him?
She doesn't care. Johanna, Indiana Jones is in the 50s now.
Yay.
Remember, George Lucas made American Graffiti, so we got to show kids driving around in a roadster listening to Elvis. Ain't nothing but a hound dog.
And people are clearly not American soldiers.
Yes, they're the. What are you talking about? They look like the most. America is a great melting pot, so they look like the most American soldiers I've ever seen. So yes, this is a weird scene where they're trying to like race the soldiers, but like you know the soldiers are bad guys, but then it's kind of humanizing the Soviets a little bit because they're like having fun with the race. I think it's a little odd. Unless they want us to believe that those are actually American soldiers.
I think that was supposed to be the point.
Again, USA, every shape and color. Everyone's welcome here. I'm woke now. I don't know if you found that out, but I'm woke now.
Oh.
Yes.
So you're not going to vote for DeSantis?
I got a big thing here about that. So those dirty commies, they kill the guards, but thank God they don't show anyone actually getting shot.
Yeah, there's like no violence in this, really.
Yeah, this is the PG-13 era Spielberg. Like, there's like two Spielbergs at this point. If it's PG-13, we're shying away from every bit of violence.
Yeah.
We're shying away from all of it. If it's R-rated Spielberg, we're having concentration camps where people are getting shot in the head, point blank. We're having Save a Private Ryan where people are on fire and their guts are spilling out. Two very different Spielbergs. It's like, Spielberg, there's a middle ground. There's a middle ground. He gets worse after this. Fucking, you ever see the movie War Horse?
No.
It's actually an okay movie. But, like, they shy away from, like, all, like, the military violence. And it's like, well, this is a war movie, Spielberg. You don't have to church this one up for the kids. This is supposed to be a depressing story we're watching. But, yeah, this is awkward where they just don't show anyone, unless it's a cartoony death. We don't really get a lot of violence in this. But yeah, so they kill the guards and they pull Indy out of a trunk.
I did like the little reveal.
Russians.
Yeah, it was well set up. And they also have pretty good actor Ray Winstone as the worst Indiana Jones character until his goddaughter in the new one, I'm sure. The worst Indiana Jones character so far, Mac. I hate him.
Yeah, I thought he at least was gonna just kind of pop in and out or whatever, but like no, like especially in the like later half or whatever, he's just there and doesn't go away.
Yeah,
and then we're supposed to be like sad about it later.
Oh yeah, I got a whole thing about
like,
that.
What the?
It's weird because like okay, I get it. It's been a while since the last Indiana Jones movie, and he's kind of aged in real time, so he's probably had plenty of adventures during World War II. When we last left Indiana Jones, World War II had not started for America yet. So it's fine if he would have a friend and whatnot, but like the way they're playing the relationship off, it makes you feel like they've had this long friendship that we knew about. It's like, no.
Or like he should have been in like the previous movies, whatever, because there's such a connection with them, and it's just like what?
But like there's like a moment in Temple of Doom that we like where that guy dies and he's like, I went on all these adventures with you. I'm like, that's fine, but like if that was it, if Mac had died in this scene, I wouldn't have cared. But then he's throughout the rest of the movie, and it's like, this will he, won't he redeem himself? I'm like, I honestly just don't care about the character. To be honest. Like, I really don't care.
Like, cool, he likes money.
I'm not invested in his journey or anything. So yeah, he sucks. Which I feel bad because he actually is a good actor. He's been in good things, but this was terrible. You know what makes me even madder? People said they wanted him to be Sala. And I'm like, I don't think Sala would be around. Sala's got shit to do.
Yeah.
Sala's not leaving Africa or whatever to hang out with Indiana Jones. Yeah. But I get like it not being Sala, but like what really bothers me is like, this is the Sala replacement. It's like, oh, okay. This sucks. So yeah, Indy hates Russians. Like I do. Because I want to stay on YouTube. And I'm on the fence about it.
Those damn dirty commies.
Yeah. I hate them all. One of the Russians is Andrew Divoff, a.k.a. the Wishmaster. He's barely in the movie. But I saw him for like a second, and now I'm trained to know when Andrew Divoff is in something. When I saw him, like, that's Andrew Divoff! I forget if he...
That's so random.
I know. I forget if he dies or anything. I don't think he makes it toward the end of the movie. I think he's only in this scene. But yes, Andrew Divoff, the Wishmaster, is in there for a second. Kate Blanchett reveals herself. And now this is fresh off of like, well, maybe not fresh, but this is like after the Lord of the Rings and a bunch of other movies. She's like huge right now at this point. And like, oh, cool. She's the new bad guy. Female bad guy woke. Before Kathleen Kennedy. Can you believe it?
Kathleen Kennedy produced this.
Oh, never mind. Never mind. Kathleen Kennedy got her claws in it.
Yeah, so anyway, she like does nothing. She sucks. There.
They introduce her as
Bob and
she brags about her background and whatnot, and then she mentions that she's a psychic. But like not really?
Yeah, I don't know.
She's not a psychic, right? She never actually does any psychic shit in this.
No, she goes and she like stares at Indy for a second, and then that's it.
And it's not even like, it'd be one thing if it's like a funny running gag where she thinks she's psychic, but she's obviously not. Like the episode of South Park with all the fake psychics, and then they have the fake psychic where we're like,
What's she sleeping?
yes. It's not even like a running gag. It's like, it's just another mystery. It's like, is she actually psychic? It's like, well, you never answer it, movie, so why even put the idea?
Isn't it only in this beginning part? Like, it's never brought up again, right?
She mentions it a few times, and then she talks about, it ties into her plan for how she wants to use the skull. So it's stupid. But I like Kate Blanchett. I thought she would be good. She brings him to a giant warehouse, and they open it up, and it's Area 51, and you're like, oh, I get it, 50s. But then you look at all the boxes, and you go, oh, that's where everything goes.
Decent idea.
Yeah, I guess so. It's not the end of the world. Like, I don't hate it as much as some people do, but it's like one of those, like, okay, I get it. It would have been nice if we just never knew what that room was and Indy never went there. Didn't we reveal that to Doug, that that's where the crates were at the end of the first movie? And he was like, what? Because he still hadn't seen 4. So yeah, she tells him that there's a box in there that they need to look for. And he was involved in some kind of search team for this box years ago. And he like comes to the conclusion. He's like, oh yeah, what we were looking for was highly magnetic. So I need gunpowder because that's metal. And he throws it in the air. And that's actually a pretty decent scene with the gunpowder flying around. I do like the little detail when it goes under the lights and it sparks. Yeah. That was
I like
cool.
That.
And like the digital set extensions here with the crates don't look too bad.
Everything else does.
In this scene?
Yeah, like it looks like it's like weirdly screened, like blue screen or green screen or something.
Maybe it's just because of how bad it gets in the movie. Here, it didn't bother me too much. And we're going to talk about CGI. I don't hate CGI. And to prove it, I did an episode with a good friend, Yoshi Vu, who is a digital effects artist. And we had a whole CGI discussion. It's actually a really good episode. Go check that out. So yeah, he uses the shotgun shells, which is pretty cool to like find the box.
And then eventually uses a grenade.
Yeah. And then he opens it up. Well, he doesn't open it up. They open it up. They open up the metal box, and I like how all the lights kind of go toward it. And they
weren't doing that before.
Because the lid was closed. That's how magnets work. Mm-hmm. Do you not know how magnets work?
Magnets, how do they work?
Do you want to talk to a scientist?
Yeah.
No, you forget the lyrics of that song. Because the next line is, I don't want to talk to a scientist. Those fuckers lying and getting me... Whoop whoop! Isn't that what they say?
I don't know. I listened to that once.
Are you a juggalo or a magic ninja?
Oh my god.
Did you expect juggalos to be brought up in the Indiana Jones 4? You know, you probably did because of the magnets. Anyway. So yeah, they open it up and it's a spaceman. And all the Russians are like, what? Oh my god! And Kate Blanchett's just like, yep, I knew it. And then Indy tries to turn on the Russians. But he's betrayed, and I love editor Michael Kahn, but they fucked up this whole reveal here, because it's like he pulls out the gun, they all put their guns down, and they put it up, but then they cut to the wide shot of Mac pointing the gun to Indy's head, and then they go to the close-up to the click, and then the pan over at him. It's like, no, but you ruined it in the wide shot.
Yeah, it was dumb.
It's like, why... Like, there's a way to cut that. I could probably cut it right now and do it the correct way. Like, why would you show the wide shot? You fucked it up. So that upset me a great deal. And I remember being in the theater going, Johanna, let's get out of here right now. Right now. And you were like, Tony, we got to see the end of the... I'm like, okay, fine.
Jesus Christ.
Imagine if I did that. I'm like, there was an editing mistake. Like, opening night, just like,
I'm just like this.
And they're like, I go out, I'm just like, this is the worst movie ever. It's like, because the nuke. And I'd be like, I'm sorry, there was a nuke in the movie? I left before that. So yeah, tiny alien man. Indy tries to fight them. He basically, this shocked me upon rewatching it. And I hope Dial of Destiny walks this back. I know this is probably your favorite scene in the movie. But Mac brags about being a capitalist, which lets us know that he's a bad guy because we hate capitalism. But then Indy says he likes Ike.
I like Ike.
Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was a Republican. And Disney's about to put out a movie. You know what? I actually wasn't gonna. I was telling myself, like, Tony, you've been doing too many topical political stuff. And then I watched this movie and I'm like, oh, no, this is the movie's fault. The movie keeps bringing this shit up. But yeah, Disney's about to put out a movie where a Republican is the hero.
What movie?
Dial of Destiny.
Oh.
And he's fighting the Nazis? Not believable.
Oh, no, Nazis again.
They used the Dial of Destiny, I guess. No, when I was rewatching this, I'm like, oh, Indy's a Republican. I wonder if Disney will keep that in. I'm sure there will be a scene where he's like, my biggest regret was voting for Eisenhower. Did you hear any spoilers for the new movie?
No.
He's divorced and living alone and sad. Because it works so well with the Star Wars movies when it made all our old heroes sad and depressed, except for Lando, who was doing acid in the desert, apparently. But everyone else was sad and depressed. Now we're going to do it again with Indiana Jones. Yay!
So then this movie serves no purpose.
Yeah!
Cool.
Didn't need to exist. Didn't need to exist at all. This Republican runs around dodging bullets and whatnot. I'm sorry, his whipping is lame.
He's very, like, OP in this.
He's too, like, they do that shot of him whipping, and he's just so slow. But then the cut, it's like the whip is over the gun, and he's like, and I'm like, oh man, that looks bad. I remember the behind the scenes footage of them being like, he looks great with the whip. And I'm like, no, he doesn't. He looks like if you, like, wanted Indiana Jones at a kid's birthday party, you just got some old guy who, like, didn't watch the movies, and he's like, oh, what do I do?
Oh my god.
I will say Gary Powell, famous stunt coordinator, did a lot of the James Bond movies and whatnot. He worked on this. There are some really good stunts in this. I do like when he jumps off the boxes and swings, and then he, like, that
He
is
misses.
very Indiana Jones.
Yes, I did like that a lot.
Where, like, sometimes that's one thing I like about Indiana Jones. He does badass things, and then he does stuff that you think is going to be badass.
Because he's supposed to be a human being. He's not supposed to be like freaking
To a point. To a point, he's supposed to be a human being. There's no way he could have survived that trilogy. He would have been dead 10 times over. But I do like where he's like, oh, I thought that was closer. Now I have a question. He drives into a bunch of boxes. Why do the boxes explode? What were in the, like, you literally, the truck hits the boxes and they just, it's not like from the force of the truck or him going through it. They literally made this digital, like, explosion. What was in those? Well, we find out what was in one of the boxes. Did we really need to see the Ark?
no.
When the doors opened and they played the music, we got the idea.
Yeah.
And maybe it would have worked better if they didn't do an Ark callback in the previous film.
The Ark of the Covenant.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
This stuff should be in a museum.
Yeah. But again, this is after the prequels where we have to do, like, all the Easter eggs, what the prequels are known for. It's like, look, remember that thing from the other movies you liked? It's like, yeah, I remember. You don't have to remind me. The car stunts are actually fun, besides that box blowing up, like when they crash into each other.
Yeah.
Except Mac is talking during it. I'm just like, shut up.
So how did Mac not die?
That's a good question. How did Mac
Because,
not
like,
die?
they pancaked.
Why didn't he die? Like, there's no reason for this guy to be around.
There's no reason for him to exist in the first place. Like,
I mean,
he could have literally served his purpose by betraying him, and then that's it.
And then just dying, like Alfred Molina. He could have been like Alfred Molina, just dying right away.
No one can be like Alfred Molina.
You know what I mean, though? Like, he's just a guy who's there to assist, and then he dies. Like, he didn't need to be in the entire film.
He just doesn't go away.
No.
He doesn't go away.
So yeah, some of the car scenes are fun. I kind of don't mind this opening a little bit.
It was fine.
There's some stupid shit in it. It's definitely not, again, when I watch it, I'm like, all right, this is kind of fun, but I don't feel like ever rewatching this scene ever again. Whereas with the trilogy, I'm like, I'm going to watch that scene again. I'm going to watch that. Oh, you know, I'm going to put that movie on. I like whatchamacallit, the tank chase from 3. Oh, I like the minecart chase. But with this movie,
Not the
like,
plane.
huh?
Not the plane.
Not so much the plane. But yeah, no, a lot of the stuff in this movie, I'm like, okay, that was okay, but I have no desire to ever watch it again.
Yeah.
Like, I could watch the trench run from Star Wars a million times. The Padme in the Droid Factory, I never feel the need to rewatch that.
Oh yeah, that happens.
Exactly. That's how I feel about
I don't
this.
pay attention to 2. I hate 2.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing about this movie. I'm like, I forget that there actually are some decent stuff in this film. But it's weird that,
It's not
like...
redeemable.
Huh?
It's not redeemable.
No, it's not, because you think about it, like, what are all the... In pop culture, what do you remember from this film? It's all the bad stuff. Like, none of the good stuff is able to shine through. Like everyone can recall good stuff from the first 3. And then with Indiana Jones, unless you watched it recently with Crystal Skull and someone says, do you remember this? You're just like, oh, the aliens.
Yeah.
The new. Yeah, it's.
Literally, it's the nuke with the refrigerator.
Yeah.
It's the fucking Tarzan scene.
Yes.
And then the alien at the end.
Yeah.
And doing the.
And the most of the jungle stuff, which we'll talk about. But yeah, it's like nothing. And there's positives in this, but none of those positives ever get brought up. And unlike the prequels, it hasn't even gotten memed yet. The prequels have gotten a second life through memes. I love prequel memes, Star Wars prequel memes. They're pretty funny. Me and Keith, our friendship these days are just sending Sam Raimi Spider-Man and Star Wars prequel memes to each other. Like, that's literally our friendship right now. There's a really cool fight scene where they go into some kind of testing area. It looks like where they made Wolverine. And I do like that moment where he jumps off the thing and then swings and kicks the guy into the glass. And then they end up on a rocket sled.
I get the Indiana Jones like hat meme stuff or whatever. Like, you know, he needs his hat. If he loses his hat, he gets it back. Type.
Yeah.
How did that hat stay there the entire time and not just go whoosh?
Well, you just don't understand G-forces. I don't know.
That would have blown off as it started.
I'm going to need a scientist in the comments right now to prove her wrong.
God.
So next time she's on, she gets to read what she got wrong.
I'm not wrong.
But
like,
yeah.
I get it when it's like super fast or whatever,
Yeah.
like it would be like plastered there or whatever, but like...
My bigger problem is, like, did we need a reaction shot of the prairie dogs looking at them?
No. Why did they keep showing them? They're shown multiple times.
Well, they try to do a comedy of 3s because they come back again, but it wasn't funny each time. And it didn't become funny on the 3rd time.
Oh, big yawn.
As we say how cutting the animals is pointless, fucking Space Cat decides to draw attention to herself.
CQ pie.
So yeah, he gets out. He doesn't try to kill that Russian guy right away. Like, as soon as I'm conscious, I'm like, oh, I should probably slit this guy's throat because he's trying to kill me. Instead, he runs. Area 51 seems like there's a lot of important, mysterious, mystical sci-fi stuff in there, right? Would you want that in walking distance to an atomic bomb testing site?
So I have another question.
Yeah.
So it's Area 51, right?
Yeah.
So just those dudes at the front gate were here? Who was setting the nuke off?
Oh, you know what? Point in the movie's favor. It was probably a lot further because he takes the rocket. It seems closer because it's such a quick trip.
Oh yeah, and then they.
But there was a big trip.
The cars are right there too, right after.
Oh yeah, wait, never mind. No, then it has to be a short distance because if the regular cars were able to. Yeah, why are you testing a nuke so close to fucking Area 51?
Right?
Especially when you have like, oh hey, we have this box that God gave the Jews, and if you take the lid off, it sends ghosts to melt your face. And they're like, yeah. So we're going to drop a death bomb just like, a few miles
yards.
away from it. It's like, could we maybe space the bomb away from the Jewish God death box? I feel like if we blow that up, it's going to be really bad for all of us. Like, it's pretty stupid. Like, I know it's the 50s. They were testing nukes. It was during the Cold War. And I get you wanted the nuke scene, but I'm like, I would have spaced this out from Area 51, I think. Although I like him walking around the town. And, like, when he realizes, like, they're all dummies, that was pretty funny. I don't know why the TV would be plugged in and turned on.
And they had the dude watering the grass and, like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, but they turned the TV on, and it's like, so they could play Howdy Doody. But at this point, I think we're all well aware that it's in the 50s. Did you need any more cues that this was in
No.
the 50s? No?
No.
It made it clear, right?
Yes.
I think they literally showed the date
Yeah.
and everything else, but I don't remember. Maybe there was a moment in the theater where you looked at me and went, "Tony, is it the 50s?" And
I did.
you did?
I did.
I'm remembering now, and I went, "Yes, Johanna, the credits are playing. You just figured that out." I do like the Russians are looking for him, and then they just leave him. And he's like, "Oh, don't wait for me." It's like, why would they? They
Yeah.
were trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Why would they rescue you? But yeah, he decides to hide in a refrigerator.
A lead-lined.
Lead-lined refrigerator. That might actually stop you from radiation, maybe. But I think the heat would just cook you inside. Space Cat, could you not do that? Could you maybe, like, could you, like, touch her and make her stop doing that?
No, she cleaned herself.
She's bad at it.
Let her try.
She's been trying for 12 years. She hasn't gotten better at it. Okay, at least she's not licking her badge anymore. So yes, it's a lead-lined refrigerator, and that might stop you from being radiated, I guess, or irradiated. I forget which word it is. But I'm pretty sure you're going to be cooked alive because of the intense
Not
heat.
even that. When he's thrown, why is he not scrambled eggs?
How did the refrigerator get out of the house unscathed?
Yeah, nothing else.
Burst through it. What is this refrigerator made out of? And then he gets like propelled. Like, I get the idea behind the scene.
But the way he was thrown, how many
Yeah.
times it hit and flipped, he would literally be
Yeah.
scrambled eggs.
There's suspending your disbelief, and then there's being asked to suspend your disbelief too many times in a short amount of time. Again, I don't like hate it as much as some people do, but it was pretty. Yeah, it was pretty stupid. A lot of people, they hate this. Remember the term "jumping the shark." For a brief time, it eventually reverted back to jumping the shark. People started saying nuking the fridge after this because they're like, "Oh nope, that's when it was beyond all redemption." Was when they nuked the fridge. I mean, it is a cool shot of him looking at the cloud. I mean, I'm pretty sure he has every bit of cancer now.
Yeah,
But
how is he alive in this next movie?
I
Like,
don't know. Is that
maybe that's why he needs to die. He needs to rewind time and just not go to that town so he doesn't get cancer.
Oh God, what was that movie? John Wayne, I believe, played Genghis Khan in a movie. Because when you think of Genghis Khan, you go, "Oh yes, John Wayne. He's the perfect person." And I think they filmed near like a nuclear test site, and I think a lot of the people in the cast ended up having like cancer afterwards, and they think it might be related. So yeah, I don't know how Indy's still alive in the new one. They someone finds him, I guess. They clean his dick. They make sure to let you know that his dick is being cleaned. And then he gets questioned by the janitor from Scrubs. I remember even in the theater, we're like, "Is that the Scrubs guy?" That's a weird.
He makes fun of himself in a Scrubs episode by saying he's like in like random shit. Because remember,
Because he is in The Fugitive. He is
Yeah.
in The Fugitive. And then
Yeah.
they play The Fugitive. starring Harrison Ford. This is the reunion we wanted. The janitor from Scrubs and Harrison Ford. Their
Yeah.
chemistry.
Yep.
Their chemistry in The Fugitive was so good.
Where is it? You don't have it up here?
You know what? I should have it up here. I actually do own Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I lent it to a friend 7 years ago, my 4-pack, and I never got it back. So they think he's a traitor because he worked with Mac. And he's like, "Mac was the bad guy. I didn't know anything about this." And then there is like a general who comes in. He's like, "No, I know this fucking guy. He's not like he killed so many Nazis before the war." He should have said that. It's like, no, you don't understand. He killed the Germans during the war, before the war, and in the previous war. Like, he's got a long history of killing America's enemies. But they don't trust him, which I understand, I guess. And they also give him the background on, could you not lick that area right now, Space Cat?
Well, she's getting it in.
Yeah, can you just bump her a little bit? Yeah,
You
could
tell
you
him.
Could you maybe do that later?
You tell him.
Do it later? Okay, good. Thank you. Anyway, so they give him the background on Arena Spunko? Arena Spunko.
Something like that, yeah.
Kate Blanchett. They give her
Russian
background.
lady.
Yeah, they're like, she digs up artifacts for Stalin. She's his best friend. And then because after the big action scene, you have to have the university scene because Raiders, The Last Crusade, and this are very, very similar, which is why we like Temple of Doom so much. The actor who played Marcus Brody died before the movie came out.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, but now we have a guy who's basically Marcus Brody. It's like, yeah, but I don't know that guy.
I know the actor.
I know Jim Broadbent, obviously. But yeah, he comes in, he's like, Indy, we were questioned by federal agents, and you're suspended indefinitely, but with pay. And he's like, what? How did you do that? He's like, Indy, I resigned. And again, I'm sure that's supposed to be a big moment, but I'm like, I don't know who this character is. Is Indy friends with him? Like, like the way they film it, it makes it seem like he's been friends with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like
he should have been in the previous movies type thing.
Yeah. And again, this would have been great if it was Marcus Brody, but he died. So maybe just rewrite this a little differently. But I did like that they had the picture of Marcus in the hallway, and they should have left it at that, but they didn't. So yeah, then they cut back to his house, and Indy's like, I'm going to take a train to New York and go to Europe. And he actually is in New York in the new movie, so maybe he never makes it to London.
Oh, God.
We find out because no one can have just happy end. Would you have cared if they just didn't mention Henry's status, Henry Sr.? Like, they don't think...
No,
they just say, Dad is doing well. He's just... Because they try to make it about, like, loss.
Dad's in a retirement home or something.
They're like, oh, Indy's losing everything, but he's going to gain a son. It's like, yeah, but the movie's not well written enough to, like, kind of relay that.
Yeah.
So they're like, Dad died. And Sean Connery was alive at this point. He didn't die till last year. They asked him if he wanted to come back, and God bless Sean Connery. He was just like, I'm old, and I just want to stay retired. He's like, he should have said, did you see League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? I shouldn't be in these movies. Space Cat, are you okay? What do you have to say about Indiana Jones? Oh, God. Oh, God. What do you think of the movie Holes, Space Cat? Do you want to go down? Do you want to get down? We're not doing this anymore. I'm leaving Space Cat off the set. She's very distracting.
Oh,
Actually,
fine.
for Nightmare, she just kind of slept. We did that at night, though.
She's fine.
All right, back to the movie. So yeah, Henry's dead, Brody's dead, Indy's sad. He's all alone. So he gets on his train to New York, and then we meet the character Mutt Williams, who's a 50s greaser, and this is like the beginning of celebrity Shia LaBeouf. Like Transformers was the previous year. Disturbia's out at this point.
I actually like that movie.
You know, he crushed it in Dumb and Dumber and Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. He's a celeb at this point. He was like the big thing.
He's the guy, yeah.
He's the guy. And he's actually, we expected him to be way worse than he was. Like, I expected him to suck.
He was fine.
It was fine.
Yeah. Obviously, his character and the writing and everything is terrible. But
he wasn't as, like, annoying as we expected him to be. They kind of like toned down his frantic stuff from the Transformers movies. So yeah, he finds Indiana Jones and he's like, hey, remember that guy Oxley? And he's like, oh yes, my good friend I've never mentioned. He's like, yeah, they're gonna kill him. So next,
it's John Hurt, right?
It is John Hurt from Alien, which we've covered. And also from Frankenstein Unbound, which we've also covered. Superior to Alien, I say. Yeah, so he talks to Indy in a diner. He's like, hey, Oxley was like a father to me. My real dad died in war. He knew you. And then he says, like, yeah, my mom, Marion, do you know her? And Indy's like, there was a lot of Marions. It's like... Exactly.
That's how I felt.
Exactly, Space Cat. She might be too afraid to get in the chair. Can you just put her on the ground?
I'm not getting bit.
Okay. I will do it. She's getting irritable. Let me open up the door. Everybody... Say bye, Space Cat.
Put her down. Stop. That poor baby.
Okay. He gives him his backstory, and right away, we all knew that he would be his son. It was a theory before the movie came out, but then when his name was Mutt, like a dog, it was like the most obvious thing in the world. People already guessed it. Yeah, so he picked his name. He even says he picked his name.
It's just like Indiana.
Yeah. So the whole movie, you're just waiting for the twist. You're like, yeah, okay, he's his son.
Do you know he apparently talked a lot of shit about this movie, and it pissed off Spielberg and Harrison Ford or whatever, so it kind of got him a little blacklisted for a while.
Yeah.
It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. It's pretty funny.
Really funny.
Yeah, so okay, so he tells him that Ox was looking for the crystal skull in a place called Akator in the Amazon. And Indiana Jones mentions the real crystal skulls, which are not made by aliens. They're just carved. He tells him, like, if you return the skull to Akator, you get some kind of power. And Mutt's worried because Marion was also kidnapped by the Russians. So he's like, you got to help me get Ox and my mom back. Please, Mr. Indiana Jones. And then the Russians show up and they're like, come with us. We are Russian. And this is a fun scene where he tells him to punch the jock to start a fight as a distraction. But I like when the jocks are like, get that greaser. And there's like a ton of greasers.
Yeah, they're like all together.
Yeah. It's what are they called in Greece? The T-Birds. They all look like the T-Birds from Greece.
Or they just look like greasers because that's the style. It was the friggin' preppy boys and the greasers.
Nah, they look like the T-Birds from Greece.
Oh my god.
Are you gonna watch Rise of the Pink Ladies?
No.
Isn't it funny that all the pink ladies of the prequel are multicultural? But I guess by the time Grease 1 starts, they all moved out of town. I was looking at the trailer and I'm like, oh, this is a prequel? I'm like, I don't remember a lot of Asians in Rydell High in Greece. I guess they just all moved out of town before it started. Anyway, the fight's fun. I got the 50s music playing. And this whole motorcycle chase is fun.
And that's going in and out of the car.
Yeah. Now, obviously, there's some big CGI scenes early on, but like a lot of this, what was refreshing when compared to the Star Wars prequels, like, oh, this is like an actual set.
Yeah.
This is an actual location that they're on. Oh, that's a real motorcycle that they're going around with. I'm like, oh, that's actually a lot of fun. This seems right. This seems good. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, they released the clip from the new movie where they're driving those little.
It looks so bad. I saw that.
After all the criticism Disney's gotten for what they did with Star Wars, to get people excited for the new movie, why would they release a clip of an annoying woman going, I'm smart and beautiful and blah, blah, blah? It's like,
resourceful, daring, beautiful, self-sufficient.
You've already killed one because, like, I'm sorry, no offense, Johanna. But more men are into these franchises. You can't argue that with me. More men are into this.
I think it's about even.
It is not even bullshit. When it comes to buying toys and merchandise, it is not even. Fucking yes.
Have you not seen my house?
Yeah, you're the exception. Thank you very much.
I'm not like other girls.
God. I should punch you for that. So, yeah, it's about even. About even. Yeah. Anyway, and like you saw, like doing all this kind of shit, like kind of alienated their target demographic. That's why a lot of Star Wars toys are on clearance and everything. So again, to get people excited for Indiana Jones, like let's put the most CGI'd clip ever with a bunch of girl power. It's like you've killed whatever little expectation people had for this movie. Not me, though. I love girl power, so I am all for it.
The Force is female.
The Force is female. I say that I wake up every day and I go, Force is female.
You kiss your Kathleen Kennedy picture.
I do. I do. I have my Pride Disney ears over there. I should put them on.
It's not Pride Month yet.
No, this might actually come out in Pride Month.
Oh.
So yeah, the motorcycle chase is a lot of fun. The one part I don't like is they end up in an anti-communist rally that was happening on the school.
Oh, yeah.
The better dead than red.
Yeah.
A lot of weird political stuff shoved in this. But like for politics, like I get it. They wanted to do the whole climate, but there wasn't like a lot of that until Last Crusade. There wasn't really a lot of that in the other ones. Like even Raiders, like the Nazis are just kind of like this thing that's there. Indy's not like, I'm sworn to fight the Nazis. Like, oh yeah, there's some German guys over But yeah, this one, they're like, even Indy's like real leaning into the like, I hate communism and everything. It's like, Indy, you've never felt this strongly about other things. The scene is fun, except for when they had to put a Marcus Brody statue.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah.
So, okay, we got the sad picture.
Yeah, we got the picture and the painting in the hallway.
And then you make a statue just to behead him? The man is dead, for real!
Seems a little distasteful, I don't know.
Like, what the hell? And it wasn't even funny!
Look, when you die and I make that statue to you,
Oh my god.
I will never be headed. It won't have a head. It's going to be like abstract art. It's going to be like a blob. People are like, what is that? I'm like, it's my art for Johanna. Her memory. Like, it just seems like a blob. I'm like, yeah, it's abstract.
I swear to God.
So, but I'm only doing that so it can't be beheaded. Because that's how much I care. Is your hair blonder than last time?
I had it up in a ponytail.
Oh.
So you couldn't really tell.
Exactly, Space Cat. I agree. Anyway, so yeah, I don't like that, but it is kind of funny that they end up in a library and Indy's still like trying to teach a student. The kid's like, Dr. Jones, I have a question, and he's like, oh yeah, you're gonna want to do this, and then he tells them to get out of the library. He's not a hypocrite anymore. So yeah, they're having a discussion. They look at a bunch of clues. They realize something about the Nazca lines in Peru, which are real lines. They decipher this random message. They're like, okay, it's talking about the Nazca lines in Peru. We got to go there. Indy reveals that he once rode with Pancho Villa because he's able to talk the local dialect. And this is actually referencing a Young Indiana Jones Chronicles episode.
I rode with Pancho Villa. A couple of his guys spoke it.
Bullshit.
Which I have not seen. But apparently Disney Plus will be adding the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles to...
Is that where they're taking like everything else off to add that?
No, do you want to know the theory of why they're doing that? It's not the tax write-off thing. It's because the more current something is, the better the residuals for the people who worked on it. And now now the acting guild is wanting to strike, and the writers are striking. They want more money, and they're like, oh shit. Let's just take it off so they can't even make royalties because we're not playing it. That's the theory I heard. I don't know if that's true.
You know what? I could see that.
Because it's all like newer shows, right?
They almost took off Howard. It's about
oh yeah.
Yeah. And right before Pride Month too, and it's like, what is wrong with you people? And then they came out with a thing like saying like, no, it was a mistake. And it's like, you're an idiot.
I love that they took off Willow. Like,
yeah.
Why did you reboot Willow? Willow is like the Lucasfilm thing that many people don't care about. I think.
And the funny thing is, they just released a pin for Willow, like a Disney trading pin for Willow on Shop Disney, and then they're taking it off.
Look, literally, the audience for a reboot of Willow is literally just Joe Lascola, and I don't think he liked the show.
I think he was the only one that I know that actually watched that.
Not many people like Willow. Actually, you know who really likes Willow? Kira. She is obsessed with Willow.
Yeah?
She is very, very obsessed with Willow. Apparently watches all the time. She is yet to watch the new Willow series. Someone had to have told them, like, no, you're not going to make any money from this.
Hey, they got Willow's spell book. You know Willow? Little guy?
Young Indiana Jones apparently is coming to Disney Plus, and I've never actually got to watch it.
I'll probably watch it when they put it up.
I know it's got one of those, like, there's a lot of big actors before they were famous in it. Like, the guy from the new James Bond, the new Commissioner Gordon from the Batman, he played like a jazz guy in it. And I think Harrison Ford is actually in that episode. I know they're like more educational. It's like Indy meeting people in history. But apparently this whole thing is like directly referencing the Chronicles. And I think there might be more references, but I never got to watch them. So I don't know yet. And we find out that Mac is spying on Indy. He really stands out. You think he tried to cover himself up more. Or maybe they could hire a local person to spy on Indy like they did with the Monkey Man in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Why didn't they get a local Monkey Man? We see some monkey men later on. Indy checks out the jail cell where they held Ox, and they see all the writings about the crystal skull.
Mutt gets very sad.
Mutt gets very sad. And they realize the skull is weird looking. It almost looks as if it's a saucer man from Mars, would you say? And we get this whole story about the conquistadors who went missing. I don't fucking care. They have to find the tomb of some conquistadors. And they go to a grave.
Yeah, this is a lot of just bouncing around, finding a thing, going to another place, finding a thing. Going
It's
to
and
another
you
place,
know what?
finding a
It's
thing.
not even like the other movies where we're like, all right, we're bouncing around to here to have a big action scene.
Yeah, no, it's literally just bounce, get thing, bounce, get thing,
yeah.
bounce, get thing. What the hell?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's really like think of like the digging section from Raiders.
Like,
But
do
if that
something
was
cool
earlier
with
and
it.
that was it, like the digging section was a nice break between like the Nepal action scene and the Egyptian action scene. So stupid. So they go to the grave, and I think the grave is actually a miniature. It looked like an actual miniature.
It looked like a miniature.
And I'm like, oh, that's right. We were still kind of doing that around this time. And now only Christopher Nolan does it. I'm sure there's other people who do it, but Christopher Nolan's the only one who does it in AAA movies, as far as I can tell. But yeah, that
bring
was
him up because of a certain thing.
Huh?
You only bring him up because of a certain thing.
Why? Why would I bring up Christopher Nolan in a movie unrelated to him? Are there other movies? I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so while they're at the grave, the tomb, the graveyard cemetery, they get attacked by monkey men. Men are just and I mean they're jumping around, going like, "Ooh!" They're like literally monkey men. The one looks cool. He's like wearing like a skull, and I thought it was a zombie at one point. It's like, no, these are just guys jumping around, and one of them is Ernie Reyes Jr., famous martial artist. He was in the Ninja Turtle movies, Surf Ninjas, The Last Dragon, which I reviewed with Tim. He's a great martial artist. He was in The Rundown, which I reviewed with Tom. Yeah, he's in this for 5 seconds, and then he dies by having a dart blown the wrong way in his neck. Remember, Indy blows it, and it's like,
Yeah.
is the back end of it poisoned? Did it go like through him? And then Indy pulls out a gun, but doesn't actually shoot anyone with it. He just scares
He
them
doesn't
away.
use it at all.
No.
This is like the first one where he actually doesn't use his gun, right?
I can't recall him actually using the gun to kill anyone. At this point, I'm still kind of on board with the movie. When I was watching, I'm like, okay, I remember around this point, I'm like, okay, there's some stupid stuff here and there, but I'm still going along with it. But this is when it starts to feel repetitive. It's like, okay, now we're going through a tomb with someone who is scared. I've seen this before in Indiana Jones movies and done better because Mutt's scared of being in the tomb. And he gets
scorpions.
He gets stung by a scorpion, and we find out if they're bigger, it's better because they're not as poisonous. But like I thought that was gonna be like a clever thing. Like he's scared of that's his biggest fear. Doesn't really amount to anything.
It's just a one-off.
Yeah, it just feels like you're trying to do the Alfred Molina spider scene again, but not as good. And then they're on that weird seesaw thing, which doesn't even like. I'm like, oh, is it when he goes to the other side? Will there be like a thing? I'm like, no. I'm like, just cut that out. Just cut that whole. It wasn't interesting. It wasn't a cool set. He's on a big seesaw, whatever, fuck it. But yeah, they go into the tomb. They find all the corpses that are like cocooned. And when I like when they open it up and the guy just starts aging really quick. Why did he ask if Mutt had a knife? Was he being sarcastic? It sounded like he was literally asking. And it's like, Mutt has a knife. He's whipped it out like multiple times by now. And then they do.
Oh God, what was that cringy ass interaction they had too, where it's like, oh, you're a professor.
Oh yeah, you're a teacher, part-time.
The way he's part-time.
And other reviewers, I think Red Letter, they pointed out like the trailer had a better line read.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, the trailer, he says the line better and they use a worse line read in the actual movie. I mean, the people who cut trailers are not the people who cut the movies. I don't know. Maybe the editor thought this was the better one.
Wrong. I'm pretty sure there were other takes.
And then they do that weird thing where Indy takes the knife from the conquistador and then Mutt's like judging him and he puts it back. I don't think Mutt would care. Yeah. Also, is this the scene is there a scene around here where oh no, it's coming up. Actually, it's right here. He gives Mutt like a corpse and he's like, hold this. And that comes up later. They do a weird callback to that. But yeah, they find Oriana, the main conquistador, and his golden armor, and all his gold and his artifacts. No one took the gold or artifacts. And then they see the magnets again, and they realize the crystal skull is there. But it's a real crystal skull. A magic alien one. Maybe.
It looks like a freaking piece of quartz I could just get at any, like, witch shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like...
They discover that Ox actually took the skull out of there and then brought it back. Like, he returned the skull to this cemetery, and they're wondering why. But before they could do that, the Soviets capture them, and they bring them to their camp in the Amazon. Also, Indy hates Mac more for siding with the communists than he is for, like, Mac almost getting him killed. He's like, how many of my men did you betray? By the way, Mac is doing this because he's bad at cards and owes a lot of money.
Yeah, he just wants money.
Anyway,
Ew.
But now he's like, there's a room of gold there. We can get it and we'll be rich. Indy quotes Oppenheimer, which reminds me that Oppenheimer's coming out, directed by Christopher Nolan, who did The Dark Knight Rises, starring me. And we find the main plan. Arena wants to use the skull to manipulate people and do like psychic warfare.
Get them to, like, think what she wants them to think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is when he's like, okay, they're saucer men from Mars. So we find out that Indy was part of a team that was supposed to investigate a wreck, but he wasn't allowed to know what it was. But this is when the movie loses me. I personally am okay with aliens in Indiana Jones. You know, that's a big point of contention for people. Where do you land on that?
I think it's fine.
The problem is you have to pick which aliens you want to do. And they try to do, you could do ancient Aztec aliens. You could do those, or you could do Roswell spaceman aliens. And they tried to do both. And that's where they failed. Because now I realize, because they have the body of the one alien. Mm-hmm. And they're like, we found a couple in Russia. And they're like, look at this. It also has a crystal skull.
But it's different.
But it might be a cousin who was also looking for Akator, and those are different aliens. Then it's like, wait. So you had other aliens with crystal skulls. And I guess their psychic powers don't work. So for some reason you thought you needed to get a different alien that you knew would not be the Akator alien. Because they knew Area 51 is not where the crystal skull was. They knew it was in Peru or whatever. What was the point of getting the Roswell alien from them? What was the point of it?
To confirm that there's other aliens?
To what end?
I don't know.
It's like, oh, there are aliens with crystal skulls, and then there are tinier aliens that may be related, but not really. Okay, this is where the movie loses me. I'm like, you overcomplicate it. Just do the ancient aliens thing. Fuck Roswell. Don't do any of that shit. That shit doesn't really work for Indiana Jones. Like, I know sci-fi was big in the 50s, and they kind of went to play with that, but you go the ancient aliens route of like the aliens came to Earth and gave us all this stuff. It's stupid. It's stupid, and I still don't get it. John Hurt finally shows up, and he's crazy because he stared at the skull too long. Then they test out the skull on Indy, and it just makes Indy kind of tired. What did it do to Indy?
I thought it was gonna like blow his head or something. You know what I mean? Like I was expecting blood to start running like down his nose, and
yeah, he just kind of stares and he's like, and they're like, it might kill him. Stop. It's like, okay,
well, what's it doing? Like,
what's it doing? Anyway.
We will be everywhere at once, more powerful than a whisper, invading your dreams.
Mutt is fully intending to die to hide the mystery of where Akator is so the communists can't get it. But then they reveal they have his mom, who's Marion Ravenwood. Who could have guessed, except they announced her like a year before the movie came out.
Also, she's right in the credits in the beginning, too.
And she's in the credits, yeah.
Karen Allen, right?
Karen Allen, yeah. There's Marion, and she's like, Indiana Jones. Remember, she said it the way she...
I did think this was really cute, like their interaction, because he looked so happy to see her, and it looked like they actually were going to hug or whatever, and then they didn't, and that's a very, like, indie thing.
Yeah, she falls for him again really fast.
Yeah, what the...
Well, he got her when she was young, as we explored in the Raiders.
It's true.
But yeah, he's like, you had a kid? And she's like, yeah. It's not that hard.
I had a nice life without you. Blah, 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 blah.
I know. And Indy's just like, all that grooming I did, and she forgot about me. But we find out that he's kind of the dick later on. He notices Ox wiggling his hand. He's like, okay, give him a pencil. And they translate a bunch of his ramblings. Blah, 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 blah. Mutt gets them out of there. He's going to make them escape. And they run into the jungle and they fall into a dry sand pit, which is different than a quicksand. He makes you know that. He's able to get Marion out, and then he tells Ox to go get help. And then they get Marion out, and how does he get him out?
A snake.
I get it. You needed to have a snake scene. I get it.
Why was it this scene?
It's just so stupid. He's like, get a rope. There are no ropes. It's like, get a branch.
You were literally in a jungle. Like,
yeah, get vine, pull some leaves out of it. Like, you could have done this with a branch. You didn't need an actual snake. And also, it turns into like the fakest rubber snake ever.
Well, yeah, they can't fucking use a real snake.
But like, at no point do I think that's a real snake. And the whole time I'm like, that snake's dead.
It was at one point.
Huh?
It was at one point a real snake.
It was at one point a real snake, but I'm like,
I didn't like that he was throwing it like that, but
I'm like, I don't think a snake could survive this. I feel like you're gonna break its vertebrae and whatnot.
yeah, I have a feeling it would like rip.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe not tear, but its bones are definitely being pulled apart. Like, I feel bad for the snake, to be honest. It is kind of funny. He's like, don't call it a snake, call it a rope or whatever.
Yeah.
I would have liked this idea, this interaction with a different setup or something. But yeah, then Ox brings back the Russians and Indy seems confused. He seems like, good job. And it's like, there's no one else around, you idiot. So yeah, now we're at the point of no return in the movie. The cartoon jungle.
I think it was around this point when I was rewatching this, aka this afternoon.
Yeah.
I paused it and was like, oh god damn it, there's still an hour left.
Yeah. So there's a cartoon tree chopping machine, which I think is to give us an excuse for why there's roads in the jungle. But a few minutes from now, they blow that up and there's plenty of roads afterwards that are just in the jungle. So this only exists to sell toys. And I do remember they did have like toys of it. So yeah, Indy gets caught up on Marion's backstory. She's like, I married something Williams after you left me a week before the wedding. Which I'm like, that was a dick move, Indy. And she's like, and I was pregnant and I didn't bother to tell you. I'm like, well, that was kind of a dick move, Marion. That might have kept him around a little bit. And he's like, I introduced you to that guy. And it's like, yeah, so what, Indy? You weren't around. Like, who gives a fuck? And I do kind of enjoy the shift where, like, earlier on, Indy is like connected with him. He's like, you don't need school. You're right. And as soon as he finds out it's his kid, it's like,
You're going back to school.
You gotta go back to school. Don't do that. I do like the Russian tries to gag them because they don't shut up. Then there's that awkward moment where Mutt throws Indy the knife and then there's like a rip sound and you think maybe the knife fell, but then it didn't.
Yeah, what was that?
I don't know.
Oh, shit.
I don't know. I've seen other reviewers point that out, and I don't think anyone has figured out what that scene is meant to be. Do you I don't know.
No.
What is it? Did we miss something? What was the point of the rip sound? I guess it was just him cutting his constraints, but why would Mutt say, oh shit, to that? It's stupid. It's stupid. It's almost as if it's not a good movie. Also, now Marion is the love of Indy's life who he can never get over. He's like, none of them were you.
I mean, he wasted time grooming her, so.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's like, Indy, she's not even the hottest chick you hooked up with. What are you talking about? I mean, Willie Scott was hotter than Karen Allen. I mean, that one girl, unfortunately, was a Nazi, but she was way hotter than Karen Allen. It's like, Indy, I think you would have been able to bounce back from this pretty well. So yeah, the big tree cutting thing gets blown up by a bazooka. They're on this big car chase. So yeah, it's a mixture of actual cars in a jungle driving very slowly, and it's not interesting, to fake cars in a fake CG jungle where everything's just flying around the screen. It looks so bad.
It's awful.
It looks fucking terrible. So 10 AK-47s 5 feet away from another truck, they can't land one shot because there's some trees in between them. Those are bulletproof Amazon trees. You're aware of the bulletproof Amazon trees.
Yeah.
That's why they had that big shredding thing, because they're like, yeah, no, those trees are bulletproof, apparently. And the leaves and everything else.
It's like mini Kevlar.
Yeah. And then, again, Mac is still alive at this point. His purpose for the rest of the film is to leave trackers for the Russians. But who gives a fuck? You could just say the Russians like were picking up their trail anyway and just guessed. But now he's like, I'm CIA. I'm a double agent. It's like, you're the worst. You're the worst. And now Mutt knows how. Did they mention anything about Mutt knowing how to fence earlier in the film?
No.
So he just knows how to fence.
Yeah.
You sure we didn't miss anything?
I'm almost positive.
So he knows how to fence, because I guess he left his fancy prep school to be a greaser. And he's like sword fighting with Arena, and it looks awful. It looks so bad. And then Karen Allen's giving him lessons on how to fight. And he's like, it's not a mat. It's like, this is so fucking terrible. Okay, and then Marion gets slapped in the face with a branch.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like loopy for the rest of the movie. She might have had a horrible concussion.
Maybe that's why she gets back together with Indy at the end.
She went back to being 16 or whatever.
Yeah.
She's like, Indy's so good. Well, no, right before this, when he leaves, she's like, oh, and I'm like, she fell right back. Like, she's gone like 18 years without him, like moved on, had a whole life. And then he comes walking back. She's like, oh. Okay, yeah. So while she got hit in the face, Mutt is doing like a split over some small trees that are all slapping him in the dick. I'm sorry, he's not maintaining his balance if he got slapped in the dick by 10 trees.
Oh my God.
I couldn't do it. I'd be down after the one. I wouldn't be able to do the split. But if I somehow pulled off the split, the first tree is flooring me. I'm sorry. This is the death of the movie.
Oh, this?
I can't even complain about anything after this, because this is the worst. Mutt gets thrown into a tree. A vine picks him up. And then he looks at a real monkey. If you're about to show us 10,000 obviously fake versions of an animal, don't show us a real one first, because we're going to notice the difference. He sees a real monkey, and then it swings on a vine. He's like, I'll swing on some vines. And I'll magically show up wherever they are, because I just know where they're going. I could just see where they're going through the trees. And then they're on the cliff at some point. I don't know where this fucking cliff came from. But that looks like shit. And then it all leads to the ant fight near the anthill. And I feel like the anthill would have been fine if we didn't just see a bunch of CGI garbage ahead of time. Because then it just blends in with everything we've just seen. But yeah, there's a big fight between him and the tough guy, and the tough guy gets eaten by ants.
The ants look terrible.
Again, I feel like if we didn't have the monkeys and everything before it, we might have been able to like accept it a little bit more. But yeah, it just looks as bad as everything else. And there's that
Especially
weird...
when they were like on his mouth. It looked so stupid.
Yeah, that looked bad. And then when it cuts to his body covered in ants, it looked really bad. What was up with the one scene where she like crushes the ants with her knee and like blood gets on the camera? That was weird.
She's so badass.
It's a cool idea. It's a cool idea for a setup, but I don't think they had the effects to pull it off. And then, yeah, for some reason, the ants hate crystal skulls. They hate them. They hate them. Pause. I'm gonna order the wings. After that terrible, terrible, terrible action scene full of garbage that I will never forget. Again, this is all the stuff I remember from the movie. The monkey swinging and all this stupid bullshit.
Oh my God.
But I forgot Marion does the dumbest thing ever. So the Russians are over the cliff. They got away from the ants. They think they're out of there. They think they're in the clear. So they're like, all right, we're going to go over this cliff and continue on our journey. And then Marion's in the car and Indy's like, stop. Why are you driving off the cliff? And Marion's like, I got an idea. And so she jumps off the cliff. Just knew there was a tree on the other side of the cliff. She just knew. Lands in the tree and then slingshots it to kill like 3 guys. But when I was watching them, like, they could have gotten out of the car and cut all the ropes for the commies and killed them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have made more sense,
Yeah.
right? Now, I'll give her a break because she was slapped in the face with a tree. But so she's not really thinking with a full deck there. But I was just watching. I'm like, that was stupid. That was really dumb what they just did. And I'm not used to characters being this dumb in these movies. And then they go over 3 waterfalls, and it's supposed to be funny, but at this point, I'm checked out of the movie. Like, this isn't funny. I don't care about any of this. And then we find out this is another case of this. What the bad guy's plan would never have worked, because he's like, I have to return the skull to Akator, and they're like, why? And it's like, because it told me to. It's like, oh, so the Russians planned. They would have tried to use the skull, and all the skull would have said to people was, take me back to Akator. It would have never done their will or anything. I honestly, I think Molaram was the only one whose plan would have worked had it went through.
Yeah.
Because the Ark wouldn't have worked for the Nazis. Yep. The Grail could only be used in that temple. You would have to ship everyone there, and that'd be a whole fiasco. And then this crystal skull would have been like, take me home. Take me home. They would have been like, worship Stalin. And the skull would have been like, ignore that guy. Take me home. I think Molaram's Sankara stones were the only things that were actually effective that could have worked.
Yeah.
Another point for Molaram. You did it, Molaram. Gone too soon. Gone too soon.
Yeah.
Hope to see you again one day.
What?
You know, I was talking to an Indian fan of ours, like a really big fan. He loves Temple of Doom. He's like, because we were joking. I'm like, yeah, what do you think about like all these white people calling it racist? It's like, that guy was like a huge Bollywood actor, and for him to be in a major Hollywood movie, Indians fucking love that. They're like, oh, it was awesome. Also, the movie made it very clear that they're the bad guys and not just regular it was very, very obvious. Shout out to you. I don't know if you want your name said, but you know who you are. Okay, so they get to Akator. And again, I don't care about any of this, but they're like, look, there were 13 big alien guys. And they're repeating stuff we kind of already know. Like, they gave everyone civilization. It's like, yeah, I mean, we got it.
Agriculture.
Yeah. We saw Alien versus Predator 4 years ago. We're up to date on this idea. And then we find out that there's people in Akator, like the natives there, and they just hang out in walls. And the walls shatter when they come out of it. I'm like, are they like in stasis? Yeah. What are they doing? We never really learn a lot about these natives, but they chase them, but they stop when they find out they have the skull. I do like that they're all hanging around the obelisk, like swinging the thing, like we're going to get them eventually. The obelisk set, that was actually a practical thing.
Oh, cool.
But the background, you know what's funny? The digital backgrounds for like the waterfall scene looked really, really good. And then they get on the top of this temple and the digital background looks like shit. I'm like, it's not even like it's all bad. It's just inconsistent from one scene to the next. Whereas with the prequels, it just looked bad beginning to end. And you were able to just accept it. This, when it's going back and forth, it's actually more annoying. So yeah, they go on this stupid thing. Again, now I just feel like they're padding the movie out with all this bullshit. At this point, you're like, all right, let's wrap it up.
Again, when I paused it and I was like, there's still an hour left.
They do a stupid callback to the hold this with the skeleton. I'm like, wasn't funny the first time. Also, I do think it's problematic that I think the Russians genocide that entire
They literally
civilization.
did. They literally killed them all.
And if they don't genocide them, the aliens definitely do in a couple minutes. They find an artifact room. And they find out that these saucer men were archaeologists. But I was like, okay, so they're based in Akator. And we know what their ship looks like, so they definitely weren't going around with that. It's like, how are they getting all these artifacts? Did they have smaller ships?
I guess.
Well, we know those other aliens probably have smaller ships, but those are distant cousins, apparently. The door opens to the tomb of the saucer men. I kind of like that door, like splitting and everything. It was a cool set. There's, I guess, these 13 aliens. And by the way, Mac triple crossed them or whatever. He's bad guy again. Irina comes in because, you know, they give the skull back to the one thing. And she's like, it was a hive mind. They were multiple organisms, but one being. And it's like, so did they just decide to sit in the room and die? Staring at each other?
Yeah, what the hell?
Or did they purposely separate them? It's not clear. It's not clear at all, is it?
I hate this movie.
It's honestly, at this point, I'm asking way more questions This is the point where everything should be revealed to us and answering all the questions we had. Instead, I'm like, wait, this isn't adding up. What? Why? How? Why did you say hive mind? You didn't have to say hive mind. That you've just overly complicated this thing.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Mac during this is stealing Benny's subplot from The Mummy.
I noticed.
Like very overtly.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that happened and you're literally just doing The Mummy right now. Everything turns digital in that room. Like the skeletons look like they were practical at first.
They did.
And then they go super digital. Ox is smart now. Somehow his brain got fixed when the alien got his head back. His brain got fixed and he goes, they're actually interdimensional beings.
Interdimensional beings, in point of fact.
So what the fuck were the Roswell ones? Are they also interdimensional beings? Why did they crash?
I don't know.
Why?
I don't know.
Why did they have to be interdimensional beings?
Why couldn't they just be aliens?
You did Roswell aliens, you did ancient aliens, and now you're adding in dimensions. Like, what the? Pick one and stick with it. You're doing too many. God damn it.
It's overly complicated.
I'm shocked an alien didn't come out of someone's chest with a laser cannon shooting everyone. I'm honestly shocked it didn't fucking do that. Like, we're doing all the aliens. Like, oh my God. I do like that Indy kind of knows what's going to happen. He's like, yeah, you know what? I've been in this scenario where the bad guy thinks they win and they die. I'm out. Again, except for Molaram. Molaram wasn't best, like, Molaram, like, Indy had to do something to physically stop Molaram. Where, again, Raiders, the bad guy caused his own demise. Holy Grail, the bad guy, no, not Holy Grail. Last Crusade, the bad guys caused their own demise. Same here. It's like, yeah, Molaram's the only one who had a chance.
Yeah.
And Indy actually had to do something.
Yeah.
But no, this time Indy's like, 2 out of 3 times I know how this ends. Let's get out of here, guys. Let's just leave. And she asked to know everything.
And then it's too much. And
it's too much. She's like,
her eyes start glowing.
I know. She's like, I have too much information. I know how to parallel park now. I know the year of every major war and when it took place. Oh my God.
So why did she just turn into like pixie dust?
I got one more.
Oh my God.
I now know that everything in the ocean is not a fish. Were you not? Oh, yeah. I dated a girl who thought everything in the ocean was a fish. I had to explain to her like that dolphins were mammals and like crustaceans and like other stuff. And Johanna, she refused to believe me. She got angry.
Did she not go to grade school?
She didn't pay attention, I guess. But she like got like really annoyed that I'm like, no. I'm like, okay, a shark is a fish. But like a dolphin is not a fish. A whale is not a fish. And she like just didn't get it.
Turtles?
Fish.
Like literal sea turtles. Seals? Like
those are fish.
Bro, I can't.
I knew another girl. I think I might have explained this one before, but I knew a girl who thought the sky was blue because it was reflecting the ocean. But see, that's what happened to Arena right now. Because again,
anyway, why did she turn into pixie dust?
Yeah, she did turn into pixie dust.
Like, why couldn't we get it like an explosion thing or whatever? Like her head popping.
Because they already did that.
So,
but I like what you said earlier about the alien. I like that the alien now has skin.
Yeah, all morphed into one.
And it looks really bad. Again, it looks like Jar Jar looked better than this. And this is like 8-9 years later. But yeah, you're right. It does go like, It gives it like a dirty look. Like, yeah, I'm giving you all that information. The ship, it's kind of a cool reveal of the ship underneath the ground. But if there were any survivors of that civilization, they're fucking dead now.
Yeah, the entire thing's flooded.
I like the idea of a ship coming out of the ground and being covered with water, but like not for this movie. It's stupid. But yeah, so they go to the space between spaces, as Oxley calls it. And everyone goes, where was the treasure?
We skipped over his death.
Oh, okay, yeah, Mac dies. He gets sucked in the portal, but there's that thing before he's like, gonna be okay. It's like,
so
what does that mean?
even before that, so he like fell, right?
Yeah.
There was a good amount of time that he could have just got the fuck up.
Yeah.
Why was he just laying there?
I don't know. But he says, I'm going to be okay. And it's like, oh, has he come to terms with that he's a bad guy? He just decided that now? But then he screams afterward. He's like, ah! It's like, well, you don't look like you're going to be okay, buddy. It looks like you just got sucked into a portal.
I don't know.
That was terrible. That was supposed to be like an emotional, like
I was just like, oh, thank God he's finally gone.
Yeah, I'm like, that overdue, if you ask me. But yeah, Indy, I shit you not, goes, knowledge was their treasure. Their treasure was knowledge, or reverse. He says it twice. And then you'll never believe this. There was a deleted scene where he looked at the camera and goes, the real treasure is the friends we made along the way. That's literally what he's basically saying. It's like the real treasure is in the hearts of the smiling children of the world or whatnot. It's so bad. It's so fucking bad. So yeah, Indy's associate dean. He's now married to Marion, and then they do the scene where the hat blows off the rack, and then Shia picks it up, and then he grabs it. Now, Justin Wang did a video on this years back. Do you remember Indiana Jones saying, like, not today, kid, or something similar in the theater?
I thought
people
so.
have a lot of people have a memory of that, and Wang did a whole video on it, and I don't know if it's been proven yet or not. Because I don't remember.
What do they call it?
The Mandela effect.
That's it.
But a lot of times they do change stuff for home releases of films. So he had a good theory. It's like, hey, if you have a bootleg DVD from 2008, like a cam rip from a theater, upload that shit so we can find out if it was a false memory or not. But yeah, then it ends with the music, and I don't think I'm ever going to watch it again now that we're done reviewing these.
Yeah, please. Oh, God.
And again, we liked it at the time. You know what it was? I think at the time it wasn't as bad as we thought it might be. Definitely wasn't as good as we wanted it to be.
Yeah.
But it definitely wasn't as bad as we thought it might be. Now, that was very, very disappointing. Do you want to hear another disappointing story? The heist of the century. Okay. So in 2008, leading up to this, I worked at a shopping bag in Northeast Philly. It was the shittiest grocery store you could ever imagine. Remember, that was two hellish weeks. Whenever I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I was there for a while. I'm like, I think it was only like 2 or 3 weeks.
It was like a second. Like
they made me cut my hair,
and you're like, nah, bye.
They made me cut my hair, and that was bullshit. So I hated it. But on my way home, I drove past a Burger King, and we had a friend who was really into Indiana Jones. Again, I'm not going to say his name because I'm admitting to a major crime here. And I drove past a Burger King and I saw that they had a cardboard cutout on their lawn of Indiana Jones. And I'm like, oh, that's just right there for the taking. But it was at a busy intersection along, what is that, Cotman Ave or Bustleton?
Bustleton, right?
It was Bustleton, yeah. I don't even think that. One, that shopping bag is definitely closed. 2, that Burger King, I think, is gone. So I saw it like every day, and I'm like, you know what? My good friend who loves Indiana Jones, he deserves that. I'm like, but how am I going to get it? It's by a busy street. I know there's cops around here, and it's in like across from the street was this residential area. And I'm like, where are we gonna do this? So then I called my good friends, who will remain anonymous, but the one was the one who went to the theater, who was smarter than all of us, and went, that movie sucked. And I told him, like, hey, we're going to steal this Indiana Jones from Burger King. I figured it out. We're going to go at night. It's not as busy at this time of night. I know where it is. I've seen where the cameras are. We're going to go and we're going to steal this thing. Make sure you wear all black. And then we drove to the Burger King. We were all hyped for it. We thought we were going to, like, crawl up. And our friend just looks at it. He's like, that's what you want? And I'm like, yeah. Like, we were all nervous about it. We're going to, like, steal this from Burger King, and they'll never know. Because it was actually, if you remember.
No, I remember that Burger King.
No, but I'm saying, like, if you remember the cutout, it was Indiana Jones, and then there were 2 cutouts that went along with it. So by stealing this, the other 2 just made no sense. So we're like, there it is. And we were, like, all nervous. He's like, that's what it is? And we're like, yeah. And he just gets out of the car. And he just goes, He just pulls it out of the ground. We also thought that maybe it might be secured to the ground. And we're like, it might be really hard. It might take all of us to rip this thing. He just yanked it. He just yanked it out of the ground. And he's like, he was like, you made it seem like it was going to be a big deal. We're all worried about the cops. It was just a fucking lawn ornament, basically. It literally was like during election time when you see that. And he just pulled it out. And then we went home. We were happy to have him. We were like, really disappointed. And then we left it in my room. It scared Bella, my dog Bella. Remember, she came in the next morning. She's like, she's like, who's that man there? And then I remember we gave it to our friend. You all right?
I'm choking on spit.
We gave it to our friend, and he went, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, here you go. I got you a big Indiana Jones." And he was like, "Thank." Like he seemed more. My memory, he seemed like more confused. Like he was a huge Indiana Jones fan. He's like, it's really cool. I don't know why you decided to steal that from Burger King for me.
Oh God!
It was funny the weeks afterwards driving past that Burger King and just
the other two up front.
I'm gonna see if I can find. I can't.
I'm good.
Okay, I'm gonna have to see. I can't find the actual pictures from it, but I will look up like the Crystal Skull advertising to show you what the cutout looked like. I'm sure someone, when it came out, I'm sure someone uploaded a picture of their advertising. But yeah, that was the heist of the century. Again, we're watching the Indiana Jones trilogy like on repeat for this movie. We're like, we'll steal something too, and it'll be cool. And then it was like the lamest, most disappointing thing in the world. And that was it. Just like Crystal Skull was the most disappointing thing. Yeah, but can you believe that soon this will no longer be the worst Indiana Jones movie? Are you excited for that?
Sure.
Okay. Everyone, thank you for joining us on this journey. We will be back for Dial of Destiny. We will give it its own solo review. Are you looking it up?
It was a standee like this, right?
Let me see.
Oh God, what is this? I don't want that.
No. It was different. Anyway, I'll put a picture of it. Don't worry. Johanna, where can we find you?
I'm on Twitter, stuff like hearts. I'm on Twitch, stuff
sometimes.
like games.
Sometimes, stuff like games, sometimes.
Shut the hell up. Fan house, stuff like hearts. Yeah.
Has YouTube caught on to what fan house is yet?
So it's on app stores and stuff, whatever. So, and you make actual money and you get a 1099 and all that junk or whatever. So, and there's no like porn or nudity allowed. So.
Oh.
It's just lewds.
Why did you go there? People aren't going to like that.
I've been making more money on there.
Well, there's a site that's only for fans.
Oh my God.
And if you type in Hack the Movies, you'll find some spicy content. I did Johanna, I know you turned down my offer of a free sample, but I did a Star Wars photo shoot that's pretty spicy. That is it from us. Please like, share, and subscribe. Become a patron. I've been doing the voicemail segment again. Been really enjoying doing the voicemail segment again. We will be at Too Many Games at the end of June. We will be doing a panel Saturday night, and I believe a signing on Sunday. We will be at VHS Fest in July. That'll be fun. Look up VHS Fest 7, and we will be at PA HorrorCon in September. So come out and meet us there. I love you all. Let me know what you think. Do you love Crystal? I actually saw a few people say that this was their favorite, and if this is your favorite, I'm going to need you to explain. So let us know what you think of Crystal Skull. Are you excited that it'll be the second worst Indiana Jones movie after next month? Or do you think that this will be worse than the new one? I doubt it. That's it from us. Goodbye.
Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out our other videos and Patreon page.